Hello, welcome to Cosplay Confessional. We're here to explore the who's, how's and why's of cosplayers and the hobby that they love. I'm your host, Kisasa Cosplay, a cosplayer with 6 years of experience.
And I'm Dave. I'm a cosplay enthusiast who's never done a cosplay, so 0 years for me.
Hello, Happy New Year, and welcome to the latest episode of Cosplay Confessional. We've got another great guest for you guys. A lot of you probably recognise from around the con circuit, certainly somebody I've met a lot of times myself. This week we have on Gentleman Geek, aka Dean. Dean, nice to have you join us.
Yay, pleased to be here.
This is exciting for me because I haven't had the pleasure of meeting you in real life, Dean, so I've done the old browse of the internet and have a look through all the cosplays. But yeah, there's some of them that I wish that I'd seen in real life, but I haven't yet. So it'd be good to talk about them.
So I guess we'll start pretty basic. How did it begin for Gentleman Geek?
It actually began back in 2015. I guess I was kind of late coming to cosplay in some ways because I was already in my mid-30s. And I actually went to a con, MCM October 2015. In a work capacity. So, okay. Yeah, I'd never actually been to a con before, always been a geek, been a nerd, but I went work capacity and just saw everybody having so much fun. You know, I was in a geek t-shirt and thought I was cool, and then I was looking around going, wow, I never knew this existed. Yeah. I'm vowed to return, work or not, next May. Which is what I did. I came in, barely cosplay, I guess. It was my first ever. It was my George R.R. Martin.
Oh, yeah. I love that cosplay. I didn't know that was your first one.
Yeah, it was quite popular, as it was.
Yeah.
I had a fake beard. Now I use my real one. Glasses and the hat with the little turtle badge. And I gave out Post-it notes to Game of Thrones characters saying either you're next or, you're spared, things like that. And I just had a really good fun time and I've never looked back, really.
So it's like going in there pretty hard from the beginning, starting with MCM.
Yeah. In fact, MCM was my go-to. I didn't really realise other cons existed for a number of years, really. So I went to the May and the October each year for a couple of years until I found a local one. I think it was either St. Albans or Watford or something local to me. And I was like, oh, people do them other times. And since then, if I'm honest, smaller or local cons, I prefer them. Now I'm much happier going around the country, finding different little cons to go to. Yeah,
I think they've got a different feel to them. Like it's like a totally different kind of event, I feel, than the bigger ones. Like I like them both, but in different ways.
Yeah. Yeah. I had that feeling. I went to, last year would have been now, went to Buxton Comic-Con, which is just down the road from where I live. And it was such a different feel because it was in a place which is traditionally, I don't ever associate it with Comic-Cons. It's Buxton Pavilion. And it's compared to something like MCM London or Manchester, like the big conventions, very, very different feel, but just as enjoyable. And this is something we've covered many times before, that I'm not actually a cosplayer. I'm a fan of the craft as opposed to a purveyor of it. But still seeing the passion there and still seeing people wearing some fantastic costumes, even for what you would consider to be one of these smaller conventions.
Sure. In fact, one of the things about cosplay that I think gets overlooked more so now than it did, maybe we're going to later. Cosplay should be fun, and you can bring as much passion or as much time, effort, money, whatever you want to cosplays, but also just have fun as well. So if you're just putting a hat on and a pair of homemade armor, with cardboard, that's great too. I don't care what con you're at, as long as you're having a good time.
But yeah, because I remember sort of kind of on the topic of that, I remember a conversation we had actually, you and I, Dean, at the last con we saw each other at MCM, or was it? It was at MCM October, and you were doing your John Hammond, but in the dinosaur, which is amazing, by the way. And I remember you saying to me that you almost felt like guilty for how much attention it was getting when you felt like other people who'd made like all this effort on like the armor builds or whatever, you almost felt like you shouldn't be getting. And
Sure.
I could see what you meant, but I don't mean I agreed, but I could see where you're coming from. But I just think it's really interesting. As soon as you said it, I was like, when you come on the podcast, I'm going to throw this back in your face and say this, because as you say, it is cosplay is whatever. It doesn't have to be some thing that's took you 5 months to make, or, you know, and it shouldn't be they took longer on this, so theirs is better or theirs is worth more or whatever. It's having fun doing it, and everyone clearly loved that cosplay, and you clearly had a great fun doing it. So that's what the main thing is.
Definitely
make them smile. So yeah,
I did have fun with that cosplay, and I remember having this conversation. And I do often get these waves of absolute, oh, what am I doing? I shouldn't be here, really. You know, I'm usually a guy in a suit of some sort. I think a lot of my cosplays involve suits or clothes that I've bought from a charity shop or whatever. And one of the things I always say about cosplay is accuracy is great. You know, if you love doing accuracy, brilliant. Not for me. I prefer what I call details over accuracy and fun props. As long as you know who you're doing, or but you know, people recognize you, that's fine for me. So my John Hammond one, for instance, not accurate, obviously. But I have little details like the little dragon inside my ember on top rather than a dinosaur. I've moved on from dinosaurs, moved into dragons now. And riding dinosaurs. Yeah, obviously you never did that in the film. Should have, in my opinion.
But I bet no one questioned who you were, or not many people. You know,
that's it. But no, I do have those waves of guilt of, oh my God, I've just worn a white shirt, put a hat on, wired my beard, and stuck an inflatable dinosaur on. And there's someone here that's crafted for half a year. Orcs. But
it's interesting, the different experiences too, because I think when I was recently at Wales Comic Con in Telford, and there were a few people who I saw who had those really elaborate builds, you know, ones that were significant time and cost investments, right? And they were getting a lot of attention, which is great, and people were loving to see them. But they were spending their whole time, you know, holding a pose or walking the floor and being stopped. And I thought to myself, where's the line between enjoying that and it becoming a chore? You know, does it ever, or is it always enjoyable? And I guess if you're in a cosplay which by your own admission isn't a massive investment, but you're still getting lots of attention, is there still a lot of fun in that, or does it ever get to a point where you're like, okay, I want to go and look at the vendors now, everyone give me a minute?
Yeah, I mean, I hang around with a lot of different people at conventions. Dan and Dave both do amazing, so accurate Deadpools. They cannot. They're often together as well. So there's two Deadpools together, and if Dan's with his partner as well, she's Lady Deadpool, and they cannot walk more than a few feet without a crowd photographed. So sometimes, you know, I'm going, oh, let's go for something to eat, guys, and I'm thinking, oh, it's not never going to get there. He cannot. Yeah, I don't know how they do it. I couldn't actually do that, I don't think. I think it'd be too much for me.
It's intense.
Yeah.
I mean, not that I've had it, but I mean, it looks intense. I mean, it's another level of...
It's commitment, yeah.
It is.
Yeah. But, you know, he keeps coming back, and I don't know if you've, you know, his Mando armor's amazing as well, and yeah, great stuff. Yeah, I'm just gushing on other cosplayers.
Please, all the name drops. We like a name drop in here. And then we'll be like, can we get them for the next one? So drop away. Okay, so you obviously do a lot of cosplays. Firstly, how many cosplays? Do you know how many cosplays you do? Or could you hazard a guess? And what is your favourite, or what are some of your favourites?
Oh, do you know, I genuinely no idea. I probably should have thought about this before.
Which bit? The number or the favourite?
Number.
I think Dave asked me this in my episode, and I also did not have a clue, actually, when it came down to it. I was like, I don't think it's as many as these will be.
I I really have no idea. I would genuinely have to count. Guess
I mean, we're talking like 30?
Yeah, more than 30, I guess. Somewhere between 30 and 40, I suppose.
Okay.
Yeah. Some have only worn one spine, so, you know. Yeah. So I guess that many. Favorite always changes depending on what mood.
That's fine.
Obviously, John Hammond on a dinosaur was a lot of fun. But Henry Jones is a lot of fun too.
That is good. I'm a big fan of that. I'm a fan. It's not my favorite, I'll confess, but it's very good. Because my favorite, I think, has to be your Chuck Norris.
Okay, so I was coming to that one next, actually. Because the Chuck Norris one is ridiculous. I know it's
glorious wig, though. It is a glorious wig. So, and I know. So, there.
The idea of that wig is for the lols, I think is the thing. I wanted it to be almost as awful as possible. You know, because I know I look it, but I'm not the fittest guy. So to have this, I know some people don't like the word fat, but I don't mind using it about myself. So to have this fat, balding, middle-aged cosplayer wandering around as Chuck Norris, I think is brilliant. I love it. I thrive on it, and it goes down quite well. And the fact that I met Chuck as Chuck Norris.
Oh wow! Okay.
Did you?
Yeah.
What did he think? Did he comment? Here's the one I prepared earlier. Oh my god! Yeah.
Chuck with Chuck.
Yeah. Me and Chuck, and he loved it actually.
Yes,
which was good. His wife was there too. She loved it.
Could she tell you apart, or was it awkward for a minute?
She nearly walked off with me. Yeah.
A bit awkward, but you know,
yeah, a little. No, he was a pleasure to meet. He was funny. He loved it. As I say, he laughed about it. Grabbed one of me plastic guns. Definitely wanted to pose. Really, really good moment for me, that. And I think that's part of the fun of it. You know, he didn't look at it and say, "Oh, who's this guy? Who's he think he is?" He saw the joy in it. And everyone around was the same. There's people taking photos of me in the line when you've got Chuck Norris there.
You're facing the wrong way. He's over there.
Yeah.
I really like, and I think that the kind of lesser seen cosplays are ones that I'm a real big fan of. Your Henry Jones and Chuck Norris, not ones you see a lot of. So when you see it and you go, that's pretty cool. That's a cool one.
Yeah, I always try and go for the lesser spotted cosplays. Sometimes backfires. So I did The Great Escape. You got Hilts. One of my favorite characters from one of my favorite films of all time.
Great.
So I thought, I'll do Hilts for LFCC. Probably one of my more screen accurate cosplays, weirdly. I don't think I got a single person recognize who I was. Oh, maybe Donald, the photographer.
Donald, bless.
Yeah.
You can always rely on Donald.
Yeah. And he took some great photos, actually. But I had a lot of fun. I had this baseball that was thrown into a mitt all day. I was fine. It was comfortable. It was lovely. Bobby Singer was another one from Supernatural.
Yeah.
I went nearly the whole day at, I think it was NorCon, as Bobby. And people didn't really recognize it's a smaller con. I'm fine with that. Probably just looked like a guy with a cap on, and an open shirt. But then right at the end, someone came running up screaming like, "Hey, you're Bobby Singer, right? You're Bobby Singer." And we had a nice chat about Supernatural. She said how it made her con, so it made my con. It was nice.
Very cool.
Yeah, he's a class character.
I think they do. But I think we've all as cosplayers kind of had that, like, I had expectations maybe for this cosplay that didn't quite go. Because I've had this conversation with people before, and at the end of the day, if people who cosplay say that they, maybe a hot take, but if they say they don't do it for attention, you're lying. Like, I mean, that doesn't mean that doesn't have to be a negative, but if you didn't want anything from it in that way, I don't think you'd do it as a hobby. So if someone was
much
saying,
easier ways to be inconspicuous.
nobody
right?
recognised me, nobody knew, and I didn't care at all, I don't think that would be true. I'm not saying it's going to ruin your day, because if you enjoyed doing it and you enjoyed making it, then it's not a waste of time. But everyone's going to hope that somebody's going to respond to it in some way, and that it's going to make somebody else happy.
Definitely.
I guess so.
And having said that, I enjoyed being Hilts, and I did. I haven't done it again. So maybe, in the back of my head, it's there that that one didn't work. That's me.
Yeah.
Every once in a while I see that with people, and you see that one person who sees a cosplay and genuinely lights up about it. And it's often ones, I confess there's a number of fandoms that I'm not familiar enough with to pick up on all the characters. I've had a huge gap in my knowledge when it comes to anime. I see anime characters and I go, I know that person is cosplaying, but I don't know who they are. But I'll see someone who recognizes that person and loses it, absolute highlight of their day. And that is such a cool thing to see. I think especially when you are, if you are cosplaying a character which isn't as obvious. Bobby Singer's a great one. One of the first people I ever spoke to about cosplay was a Bobby Singer cosplayer. And I didn't really know Supernatural, so I wasn't familiar with the character. But I knew that person would walk around the con, people would see that person and go, oh my God, I'm a huge fan of that thing. This is so cool. And if that was the one person they interacted with that day, it made the day for them. And that's so, so cool. So cool.
Definitely. You okay if another another cosplay name, actually?
Do it.
Cool. Because on that, there's a guy who I met a couple of times before I realised it was the same guy, which is always nice.
We've been there, yeah.
His Instagram is Serge, SERGE .Christopher.
Okay.
And he does a lot of 80s cartoons. So he's done things like Mask, which no one remembers but me. He walked around and he was very pleased that someone noticed. And the next time I saw him, he was doing Visionaries, which was another cartoon that was a favourite of mine. Again, no one knew. And I was like, that's amazing. Captain Scarlet, Brave Star. And the guy's a legend and deserves more recognition.
Justice for Serge.
Justice, wasn't it? Yeah. Yeah, he's great. A lot of time for that guy. Just because every time I see him, he brings a new piece of my childhood back.
Yeah. Like the nostalgia that you feel when you see him is just...
Yeah.
Well, you keep dropping these names in because our producer Dan from Studio 30,000, it's fantastic because he'll be going through trying to find all these people, try and add some of their photos and stuff in, and just keep Dan working. He loves it. I say that. He's going to cut all of my bits out of this episode.
Yes.
So,
Hi,
Dan. Love you, Dan. We love you, Dan. Studio 30,000. Yeah. I think that, community is one of the biggest things. I think it's one of the things that interests me so much about cosplay is what I see people who know each other, people who meet through cosplay, who recognize each other across different cons. And like you say, don't recognize each other because their costumes are so different from con to con. And I've done that before on a number of occasions where I've met someone and they've gone, oh yeah, we met at this con. And I was like, who were you dressed as? And they're like, oh, no. I'm like, well, of course I didn't know who that was. But it was when we had, I think it was the Scandalorian we had on one episode where it was like, I'd met the guy 2 or 3 times, but each time he was wearing a full costume with mask and the rest of it. So I had no idea. And that is so great to see people making those kind of connections, especially when they often don't even know what that person looks like or who that person is and behind the costume. So
definitely. You touch on community. And oh God, I feel like I'm on here plugging stuff now. Because I'm going to
get to this. We were going to get to this, so go right ahead.
Oh, really? Do you want me to wait?
No, go.
Let into it. Yeah, community is a massive thing for me in the cosplay sort of genre, hobby, I guess. So much so that I am an admin and co-creator, I guess, of a group that started during lockdown, which was brilliant, if I'm honest. It started off as a birthday Zoom call for Toby. We'll drop another TJC Cosplays. It started as a birthday Zoom call for him. And there was quite a few people on that day, but we kept saying oh, we should do this again. So we did a couple of Zoom calls and then created a Facebook group, just a way to organize when we were going to do a Zoom call. At the time we called it the TJC Community because it was for his birthday, and it sort of grew. through lockdown, because nobody could meet up, so we started having more and more Zoom nights, and then they progressed to game nights, and then we started doing cosplay nights, where people would sit in their home on computer in cosplay. Brilliant. Wow. To the point where we actually ended up doing an online Comic-Con, where we, by that point, I think we had about maybe 300 members, something like that. And we did talks. So all the admins did a recorded talk, live at the time, but then it was recorded. You can probably still find it on the Facebook page. Mine was on steampunk, and I taught people how to tea-jewel. And so we took live comments. Yeah, tea-jeweling. Oh, new word. We did, yeah. We don't normally allow buying and selling on the group because it's not about that. But on that day we did. We authorized certain vendors to have buying and selling all day, like a con. We did a cosplay competition where they would come on Zoom. They'd have a little spotlight, do a twirl, talk about their costume. Yeah, it was mad. I still can't believe it happened. Now, I think we're just shy of about 800 members now. And we have meetups at various larger cons and the smaller cons, which is probably why they've become more of a favourite of mine. We get now invited to a lot of the smaller cons. So we have a table and a banner and stuff for the Creative Geek Community, as it is called now. That's Creative Geek Community.
Draw the screen down. Put up.
Yeah. Keep working, Adam. Keep working.
And we love having a table, not just because it's fun for us, but it's a really good place where people could just take 5 minutes to just come and sit. If things have got overwhelming for them, as people do often find at cons, say, just come to our table, sit down 5 minutes, just chill. Don't speak to anyone. Have a drink, sit down. And we use it as a meeting place throughout the day where people can just be, have a friendly face, someone they know is going to be there, that they see on this group all the time. They know someone's going to say, hey, hi, come and chat to me, And I think that's really important. And it's really filled me with some real joy when I've seen that happen, when people said, oh, thanks for just being here. And it's nice. Plus, we often fill the table with props of swords and knives and guns, and we give them to all the kids as they walk past, and they have them.
To the parents. Yeah. That's really exciting. I think that the idea of an online con, I think about this a lot. So bit of family history. My parents met at a Star Trek convention in the 80s. And back in the day when conventions like that were the only way you met people that were into these similar fandoms, right? And, no internet, so no chat rooms and all the rest of it. So not yet. So the idea of having conventions and have moved on now to the cons that we see today, where people will meet up and do those kind of things. And then you throw into the mix something like lockdown, which meant that we couldn't have those big gatherings. It does raise the question of how do you stay in touch with those people that make your community so vibrant, and also provide for a lot of people a bit of a lifeline to that kind of hobby or passion that they have, which perhaps their people around them don't share, and they can't sort of share that with others. So the idea of doing something like that online is amazing. The fact that, first of all, that you can actually do it at all is impressive. And second of all, the fact that you've done it and you made it work. And you made it work in a way which seems like you pulled a lot of the key elements of what a real life convention would have, and yet put it into an online capacity, and seemingly everyone had a great time and it worked, right? The kind of thing where if you told someone we're going to do a convention, but it's going to be on Zoom, they'd be like, is that a thing? Can you do that? And you can actually say, yes, it is a thing. Yes, we did it and it worked. That's awesome. That's really cool.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. With the only thing that came from it is we had a lot of people saying, well, now that we're back, you could do a live one. You could do a Creative Geek Community Con.
Logistically, let's baby steps.
It's probably a bigger job, but yeah, thanks. Yeah, we'll try.
Yeah. I did genuinely look into it, and I was like, no, that's really hard.
Yeah.
No, but that is amazing. It's one of the main things that kind of in my mind, like, always go hand in hand with the community side of cosplay. Before you did Creative Geek, am I right? You were like admin of were you another admin of another
I think I sort of floated around a few different groups trying to find a.
Because I think like I kind of encountered the first time I encountered you, I think was like in another geeky group. So like it goes way back to like, but yeah, obviously I've been to some of your meets at some of the cons, and like there's always like a big group photo, and it's just like catching up with everyone, and yeah, it's a lot of fun, and it's just like the friendly faces, especially at a big con like London, which it can be a bit overwhelming. Like at the larger ones, it's a great time, but it's a lot of people, and you can kind of sometimes feel a bit sort of small fish in a big pond. So having that kind of beacon of like, these are my people, and these are approachable, and it's really great. So
definitely, I mean, even at MCM, we don't have an official area at MCM because little fish, I guess. But the wall outside, as long as it's not raining, by the big billboard, there's always going to be a Creative Geek community member hanging around that wall. We did have another meeting place in October, briefly.
Were you inside?
We went inside and managed to meet at the large banner of Henry Jones Jr.
Oh, yes, of course. Yes, I did go there. Meet Dean under Dean.
Yeah. Can't miss it because one of our admins is on a huge banner.
Perfect. You should have just placed the Creative Geek Community mini banner underneath it. Just
I've got like
free advertising.
Yeah, no, that was fun. Apologies, I just had to.
Hey, there was a massive banner with me on it somewhere. I talk about it in every single episode, so don't worry about it. I think that's it's huge. I think about the sort of cosplay repair stations that you see now at cons, and I'm thinking back, like, I've been going to conventions for a few years, and I remember that not being a thing. Cosplay's been a thing at every convention I've ever been to, big or small. But the idea of support in the community, outside of just the friends that you've gone with, right, is a thing which feels much more recent. It feels like cons are either they're doing something and putting things into place as a support mechanism, or groups like yours are taking it upon themselves to do that instead. I think that's a real, I don't know, it feels like it is a really positive shift in the direction of making sure that people can feel supported and safe doing it. Because I know that people who are dressing up in cosplays and stuff, there can be an element of risk within it, whether it's, feeling safe in the costume, whether it's feeling self-conscious, whether it's feeling like, I don't know, there's a number of things that would play into that. I imagine that having a group of supportive people who perhaps you don't even know them, but you know that they're there to support you in this sort of cosplay journey is just a really cool thing to see, and really great that it's happening in more places and people are taking it seriously, looking after each other.
Definitely, and it's something, it is a service, that right word, that we have sort of provided. People know that they're going to be okay. All right, we might not know each other in and out, but they know me by face, and they know that I'm an admin, and they know that I will, we police that site quite a lot. It's a closed group. When it's closed for a reason, we don't just want anybody in there. Well, except most people, but we want to police it.
Yeah.
So they know that there's no bullying. It's not tolerated. They know there's going to be no insults. It's just not tolerated. And they see me, they see Toby, or they see John, or they see Natalie, or they know. Oh, or Neve, if you can find Neve. I mean, I don't know Neve, but she's definitely around. But they know that there will be a friendly face. Just check Neve's Instagram and drop that in. Red Ledger Creative, all one word. Amazing cosplayer, but best cosplays is the Invisible Woman.
Yeah.
And to find her icon. One minute she's there, next minute she's gone. She won't mind me saying that. A funny story actually on the wig for Chuck Norris with her. We were at, I think it was Ipswich Con, and she's amazing wig stylist, by the way. She literally amazing. It wows me. So she just got out this wig and she was brushing, and it was all pristine, and wig cap goes on, and she's doing all this. And it took her about half hour, I guess, to put this wig on. And I pulled out my Chuck Norris wig. Shiny,
Just
naughty. Yeah, so I took it out of my bag. I went. I thought she was going to be sick. Her face, just
The horror.
yeah.
Yeah, I can imagine.
He was like, she was not pleased with me.
The two sides of cosplay.
I don't think
The
of
yin and
wigs
yang.
requiring styling, but of course they do. And yeah, Kisasa, keep me honest here. You've got enough wigs to tell me that it needs styling, right? Like you need to look at.
Yeah, I mean, I will say, I also know, well, I know her by reputation and her, her page. I don't know her, but I mean, she does do some great wigs, you're right. And I mean, it is so beyond me. Like, wig styling is not a skill I have. Wig storage is not a thing I have, which also limits me. Like, I mean, I have some, but I can't do the whole, this has been styled and this needs to go in a wig head and this needs to go in a Build-A-Bear box, because that's the dumb thing, is you get a Build-A-Bear box and you put them in there.
Okay.
Can you?
Apparently.
Mine's in a plastic bag in a drawer.
Well, the mine are in plastic bags and drawers, that's my thing. So we both disappoint her, I think, really.
And somewhere she's got this pain and she suddenly feels like, oh, someone's mistreating all their wigs.
I think by the sound of it, it's like me. It's like you, Dean. Me, because like it's in a bag, but I would brush it, and then it's just like yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting as well because it comes back to that idea of the way you keep a cosplay, and I think how whether you store it, whether it's we've spoken a lot previous episodes about sort of closet cosplays and comfy cosplays and the ones that don't require huge. And I say this with the utmost respect, but the ones that don't require the huge amounts of effort and time and devotion to create, right? Then it comes down to how do you store that? You just put it back in your wardrobe, or does it go in a box? Where you see a lot of these ones that are made of foam and plastic and big old chunks of things. And you're like, where do you keep that? Like, where do you keep a full set of power armor? Like, where do they even live?
I think a lot of plastic boxes are involved, and a lot of lofts, I imagine.
Yeah. Cupboard under the stairs.
On the stairs. That's it.
Mine
are mainly a lot of mine are closet cosplays. I wear a lot of my cosplays pieces out in the street just on a daily basis.
So that is a practical choice, though. Like, a sensible choice.
Sensible, yeah. I mean, one of the reasons I do that is because my wife already feels I take up an awful lot of room with stuff. So yeah, I think if I had, yeah.
Maybe she wouldn't appreciate power armor.
No, it's funny actually because her actual nightmare is dressing up of any sort.
Really?
Yeah. New Year's Eve parties, fancy dress look, hates it. Just stresses her out. Hates it. I did get her to come to a convention with me once.
Wow, okay.
And again, it was an early convention, so I was George R. R. Martin, because I think I only had 3 cosplays. So I was George R. R. Martin. She wore a badge that said, Assistant to George R. R. Martin.
Cute.
Closest she got.
Nice.
And she held bags while people took photos.
Bless her. And what did you think of the whole experience? I mean, you say it like it's only happened once, so...
It did only happen once. I said, yeah, I'm glad you enjoy it, but it's not for me. Fair enough.
Yeah, there's always someone holding the bags, right? So someone's got to do it. Someone's got to do it.
They are the unsung heroes. So I'm going to steal a question that is always Dave's. So sorry, Dave, but I'm pinching it this week. Do you have a dream cosplay? Like, absolute like, what is your Everest of cosplays?
Yeah. Yes, I do.
Yeah.
I'm not sure you can see it behind me, but I've got a Sword of Omens up there.
I can just about, yeah.
Yeah. Thundercats. Desperate to do a Lino. I have bits that I sort of collect every now and then and go, yeah, that might work for that. Yeah, that might work for that. And one day it will happen, I guess. But I don't know. I know I said I don't care about the body side of it, which I don't. I don't think any cosplayer should, Fat Chuck Norris is fine, it's funny. But because I love Lino so much, I'm going to be able to just slim down a bit before I do it. Because there's a lot of midriff going on there.
It's true. It is true.
Yeah. And maybe I'll just relegate it to a Jagar or something like that. Then it can just be covered up. But I think Lino is probably my ultimate. Yeah, just because again, I've got so many memories of that as a kid. It was I loved it. Just loved it. I could wax lyrical about that all day.
That's it. You don't need another reason, do you? You love it.
No.
You want to do it. That's huge.
The best reason, really,
Yeah.
isn't it?
I used to
It's a
say
little bit,
Optimus Prime.
Oh, nice.
But because it'd be an amazing build to do, sort of thing. But one, I'm not a buildy creative guy, which is fine. Again, it's just not me. I've done the odd props and stuff, but that would fill me with dread. And then I also not keen on masks.
No.
I've done one masked cosplay, which was Q from Street Fighter 3.
Oh yeah.
The sort of robot guy in the trench coat. Anyway, third strike or triple strike, whatever it was called. Anyway, wore a mask all day. Not keen. So that's not for me. Some people love it. Some people prefer the anonymity as well. But yeah.
It's interesting, isn't it? That confidence idea, the idea of people being in cosplay, the point made earlier, like there's a degree of you can dress in a cosplay for yourself. Of course you can. But there's going to be a degree of, isn't it nice if someone recognizes you? Is it nice if someone goes, hey, that's that costume, that's really cool. And the idea of a mask, people I know who only wear mask cosplays because that's how they have the confidence to stroll around a convention all day and be in photos of people and stuff. And I totally get that. But then also there's the idea if you can muster, it's not about whether you have it or don't have it, it's the way that you express it, I guess, that confidence. And if you can do that, whether it's fake or real, if you can make it work without the mask, then I can see that it'd be kind of hard to then hide behind one because you want to be a part of that costume. So no,
it's a funny thing though, because I agree with what you're saying, and the mask is one thing, but actually, even when I'm John Hammond, I'm in a mask in a way.
Yeah.
I've got my white beard, and I've got some glasses and a hat. And I don't feel like I'm me. I actually do feel like I'm John Hammond, and I think that's a mask in itself. But a physical mask just didn't work for me, but they really work for others in the way that you were describing. And yeah, I don't know. I think it's what you're comfortable with. Is as you say, works different for different people.
You got to enjoy it, right? You got to enjoy it, and comfort is a key part of that. Like I always think about your Kaylee Fry. So it's the idea of it's a cool cosplay, but it also looks pretty comfy. Like it looks like one that you could wear all day and be comfortable in it. So I think that's. I think if I ever got as far as to actually commit to a cosplay, it would have to be one that would be super comfy.
Yeah.
But then I also have the husky gentleman feet that I have to figure out where that fits. In costumes.
You're supposed to be doing your Star Wars cosplay.
I know.
I thought you had your jacket.
I have got the jacket.
Don't deviate from the plan.
It's me from over there. And no, I am.
This is why you've turned your chair so we can't see it anymore.
Did I show you my lightsaber? I got a lightsaber.
I
Sounds like a euphemism.
so.
Definitely not. It's definitely not. This is a family-friendly show. No,
I think so because you had like a reel of you being cool with it.
I got a lightsaber. I'm getting these little parts, right? But I was meant to be going to Florida to showcase this costume, and I'm now not doing that. So it's that kind of thing where, I've got this.
Oh yeah, you're going to do Galaxy's Edge, right?
Yeah, but I'm not going to now. So now I've just got the jacket just mocking me, just telling me I should be wearing it at some point.
We'll just have to do it to a con then.
I'll figure it out. I'll make it work.
Well, actually, they kind of both work together. The Star Wars cosplayers I've seen have all been very welcoming. So, they're very inclusive Star Wars cosplayers. Which, sort of goes against the fandom that you sort of see in day-to-day life a lot of the time, because, nobody hates Star Wars like Star Wars fans, right?
That is it. I'm right in the mix with that. Huge Star Wars fan. A lot of people hate my opinions, and I'm fine with it. Yeah. It fuels me.
All the Star Wars cosplayers have all been really nice and really inclusive. I do have plans for Baylan Skoll.
Nice.
Ahsoka. Because I thought that character was amazing. Really gutted about Ray Stevenson. I really do hope they recast it though, which I think would actually be a legacy to his name rather than not, because he loved the character and he wanted it to continue. You know, he talked about how excited he was to show that character and show his story. So I think it would actually be disrespectful not to recast it.
Yeah.
But that's another thing. Villain Skull, I love the character, love the look, love the cosplay. It will happen, but I want to be happy with it before I take it somewhere as an honor to him, really. Because he was a great actor.
Good reason to cosplay. That's a good reason.
But there will be, you know, I'll intersperse that with other easy, silly ones.
Are there any other novelty ones that you have like floating around in there?
I have one that I don't know if I want to say it on here.
Oh, that's okay. I used to be really like cloak and dagger about all mine, to be fair. So
we've talked about niche. This is really niche.
Okay.
Yeah, and only a certain amount of people are going to get it.
Give us a hint. Don't tell us, but give us a hint. The pressure.
No.
Okay.
We'll give it away. I might do it offline just in case someone sees this. Yeah.
Okay.
But
we'll do a follow-up episode once you've done it.
Yeah. I've got a lot. I've got the cosplayer curse of watching TV shows or films or whatever, and I find myself distracted from what's going on because I'm going, how would I cosplay that?
Honestly, yeah, everything. Yeah, I know that.
Yeah, so I find myself...
That ignorance is bliss.
You're lucky. Once you started, you can't stop.
Yeah, my phone has got its own folder of where I'm watching something and suddenly I'm downloading an image.
Yeah.
Images of... Yeah, many projects, too little time.
So the Balin Skull is lined up for the future. Have you got any sort of immediate cosplays that are like in the works now that are going to be debuting soon that you want to tell us about, or the super secret one? I'm not going to press for that. It's fine.
No, that's fine. Let me have a look in my album. I do have a Lost Boys themed one that I really want to do because Lost Boys is one of my favorite movies. But I was originally wanting to do David. But then I decided, actually, I think Grandpa would be better. So I am going to do Grandpa at some point.
You get typecasting.
I know. Give myself a stuffed sort.
You can never shave, man. You can never shave.
Yeah.
You're committed. That's it.
Cover myself in Windoline. I have got most of the pieces now to do it. Because that's what I do with cosplay. I just get things and build it up until I have it. I go to charity shops on a weekly basis.
I love charity shops for cosplay stuff.
Yeah, and that's what I do. That's like my other hobby.
Bargain hunting for cosplay parts.
Yeah. What's his name? I've only just been introduced to the live action One Piece.
Okay, yeah.
I loved. Again, it's another bearded cosplayer because I like having my beard these days. Is it Gerp, the Admiral guy?
I haven't seen it, to be honest. I know some of the characters because I've already seen the cosplayers are already coming out. People did not waste any time there. They were like that MCM October. I was like, they're everywhere already. So they just come out.
A Riker from Picard again.
Yeah.
Is something I want to do. So there's so many just buzzing around all the time, and I've got bits of each of them. And yeah, hopefully one or two will be ready come con season.
So how? We obviously you say you're one of these people who you do a lot, and you've always got a lot of ideas going on. How do you kind of like prioritize what you fit, or is it just kind of like you look for the bits and when something's done, that's it, that's when you wear it? Do you just kind of go by when you find stuff, or?
Generally, yeah. There are the odd occasions where someone's doing another cosplay and I go, oh, I was going to do something to do with that.
Yeah, so you kind of try and...
Yeah. I go, right, do you want to team up for this? A bit, like Valentine from Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I did him because Toby was going to do Jessica Rabbit, and Georgina Dicey Glue Props was going to do Dr. Doom, but she couldn't make it. What was his name? Judge Doom.
Yeah.
Dr. Doom. Different franchise. Yeah.
Eddie Valiant, though, that's another one. That's another one where it's like, that is not a cosplay you see often. And
no, you see a lot of Jessicas.
But I think that's the thing where you see a cosplay. And again, I was fooling through Instagram. I saw that image. I was like, oh shit, that's Eddie Valiant. And then I looked at the caption where you explained it, that it's Eddie Valiant. I was like, oh, but it's recognizable. And it's that sense of, I know for a fact that I've never seen someone cosplay Eddie Valiant at a con. In my experience, I've never seen that. So that's such a cool thing when it's one that I've never seen someone do that before. That's so cool. So.
I had some really fun photos with Anyone But Me cosplay, all one word. Where she does her own Roger Rabbit. She does her own take on Roger Rabbit, which is brilliant, and she was a right laugh to do that with. Slipping out handcuffs, etc. It's good fun. Only when it's funny, obviously. So when they're ready is basically the answer. When they're ready, when I feel like doing them, might be the better way of describing that. I recently obviously did President Snow.
Yes.
Hunger Games.
I did enjoy that one.
Yeah. That I had no intention of doing that until about 2 days before the con. So that is a literal closet cosplay. I went, I've got everything I could need for that. I found myself a little plastic champagne glass. Well, you saw me put fake blood on a handkerchief whilst I was at the con. From someone else's cosplay.
Amazing.
Nice.
How did that one go down? Because I thought it was really good. Well timed.
It went down well with certain people, more niche people, because I didn't have the hair for it. Wasn't quite accurate. Not accurate. It's not the right word, but like it was just me in a suit with a cravat and white hair, white beard, and coughing on a hanky. But
brave choice.
Yeah. So I had I've got a few upgrades I want to bring to it that'll make it more recognizable, change the style of suit, have a little shoulder thing, etc. Because I want maybe a bigger, whiter wig, something like that. Because I would like to do it again. But surprisingly, it was much more popular online than in person. I posted it a couple of times on my Instagram, and those people, I love that, really love that. Lots of comments.
I always find that about London cosplays, though. I think you can so easily get lost in the crowd there, and then afterwards it's like, and I'm thinking, where were you? Because I was there, you were there, like what? But it's like, that is sometimes the way with the London ones, I feel.
Definitely. But still, they're fun, the London ones. Easier to recognise and spot ones at the smaller ones, as we've said, or the mid-level, which there are many. Go out and check your local cons, people.
So many now.
Remember, support local.
Absolutely. I think that we spoke about this in the last episode, the idea that there are now so many in all over the country or countries, like there are, and they're great. I've been to a couple of what you would call quite small cons, but they still had everything that you would hope for. They still had the vendors, they still had the cosplayers, they still had the great atmosphere. Like, you don't have to, as much as I enjoy a big MCM or one of the big, they're great and they are their own beast, right? I went to the Birmingham con last year and it was fantastic. I'd never been to that one before, but it's huge and you get a bit, wow, there's a lot going on. But then you go to the smaller conventions and it might just be 10 minutes down the road from where you live. And actually people are still got the same level of passion, the same level of commitment to making it a fun and sort of worthwhile time for people, which is so cool. So cool.
I actually do have a favourite con. Am I allowed to say that on here?
Yeah, of course.
Because it feels like I'm plugging it. But there are many cons. Like I love Capcom Ipswich. Brilliant.
Heard good things about that one.
What was it called? MDC was another good one. Marvel DC. That was really good.
Yeah.
Out in a field. Brilliant. Weird. Yeah. But I love Norcon.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've heard of it, but Norcon.
Again, one I've heard, I've not been to, but
it's my favourite con of the year, mainly because I get in the hotel opposite, right, the showground. I arrive there the day before and I leave there on Monday. I stay the whole weekend.
Nice.
Just because lots of people are in that hotel. So, we go over. I can do 2 or 3 changes if I want to as well, because I can just nip back to the hotel, change my outfit, come back. Creative Geek Community, I've always got a table there. I know the owner really well. He's a nice guy. It's a very family-orientated con. It's really safe and nice and fun, which is great. The kids just sort of wander on their own if they want, because it's basically one room, and then it's got some outdoor stuff with food vendors and stuff. But it's a big one room, but everyone knows that it's safe and it's nice and it's fun. It's a good feeling. I think that's what I love about it. It's like, it's nice. And then we go back afterwards and have a drink at the bar, and something to eat, and it's nice. My favourite time of the year.
Interesting.
What time of year is it usually at?
End of September, usually. So again, a lot of the cons have already happened. It's nice. It's good con. I've already booked my hotel.
Where is that one? I'm not been to that one.
Norfolk.
Okay.
It's Norwich, just outside Norwich. It's in Norfolk Showground.
What is? I should have guessed that with the prefix, but hey. Well, it's interesting because I think about one of my earliest convention memories was I was probably 10 or 11, and I went to Gen Con, in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and I remember I was too young for anything fun, but I remember going back to the hotel and it being a big hotel where it was all being done, and people playing board games and role playing games, and people in costume. Of course, at the time I didn't know who was who, but up until late at night, and the fact that just because the convention was over, people were still in that con mindset, having a great time. Mm-hmm. And I think that's amazing to see that in places where it does matter more who you're with than where you are. People who are going and having a great time in groups and meeting new people and seeing people they've not seen all year maybe, and then they meet up in person, and seeing some of the fantastic groups that form with cosplayers. Because I've seen the number, the times that you've gone with your friends and you're all in Firefly cosplay, and I've seen others who saw a fantastic group of Borderlands cosplayers once, about 10 people, all of which had come from different corners of the country for the convention. And seeing that people coming together and spending so much time just in amongst people they feel so, part of, that again, I don't mean to overuse the word community, but it is that thing of people come together and it's very intense for that period of time. It's a weekend con or whatever. And then they might go back to a life where no one around them perhaps shares that same passion. So it really...
I mean, I work in an office.
You work at what?
I work in an office. I mean...
Oh, well, yeah.
Fortunately, I do work...
No one's cosplaying where I work, that's for sure. So
yeah.
I'm jealous of that. Yeah. No one at work gets me.
Yeah. Well, I do film advertising, but it's still a lot of
cool.
Yeah. Yes, and it's a bit like, what did you do the weekend? Oh, well, we'll see.
Everyone at work when they're like, anyone doing anything nice this weekend? I'm always like, they look at me like, come on, yours is going to be weird.
Me, so...
They kind of just accept it now. They're like, right, what are you doing? Who are you going to be? And I'm always like, you're not going to have heard of them anyway. And they never have. Yeah. And then I'm like, Stranger Things. They're like, oh yeah, I know that one.
Hey, we said it. We've spoken about it before. You were the first Robin I ever saw cosplay. There should be a trophy somewhere, a plaque. So that,
the first one.
I guess one more question I've got for you, Dean, and it's you mentioned before about sort of getting into cosplay after seeing it and starting off and being and I would say this with the most respect, being a little bit older, not old, older, getting into it the first time, being a full-blown grown-up and thinking, I'm going to start doing cosplay. Like, what's the kind of, people who see that and think, are scared of it or are nervous about it? Like, what's your elevator pitch for why someone should just do it, just try it and go for it?
Because it's fun. There's the short answer. But, you're right. 35, I'm yeah, was when I was 35, 36 anyway, was when I started, and I was sort of dipping my toe in more than anything, and it was like once a year. Now I'm several cons a year into my mid-40s, and the reason I've done it is because genuinely it is fun. Who hasn't been, apart from my wife, to a New Year's Eve party or whatever, in fancy dress or a birthday party? Everyone has a great time. It's that all weekend. I mean, what's not to love, But I do just think, especially if you are a geek, a nerd, maybe a little bit social awkward as well. Often goes hand in hand. Not always, but often. It is a great place where you can go, hide behind a either physical or costume mask, metaphorical mask, and see people with already something in common with you. They're dressed the same as me. We have something in common, and easier to strike up a conversation. I love your costume. Did you like the series, film, character? What did you like about them? And I've met many friendships doing just exactly that. Wow, you look amazing. Wasn't that series great? And it sparked off. And yeah, I'm genuine friends where I go out and see people now just from that at a con, which is lovely. It sparks some amazing things, really. Some really cool guys who I should have mentioned when I was talking about favourite cons, but I've never been there. They're very heavily involved in WinterCon, but they will hate me for saying I've never been there because they keep inviting me, and I keep always having something else on at the time. Jan and David, Unipool Cosplay.
They're the ones that...
One Division.
Oh.
Yeah, that's what they're rather famous for. Went viral for quite a while.
Yeah.
But I first saw them dressed in Rocky Horror Picture Show. And I was like, brilliant. Ran up to them. Had to chat. Threw Toby under the bus saying he'd never seen it.
Shocking.
Yeah. And that was it. I count them as friends now. And we've spent great weekends together, etc. It's just a lovely way to meet people. Again, they were more, I'm sure they were saying it, mature cosplayers. But it was a lovely way to meet them, and they're great people. So I'm thankful for this hobby.
That feels like a really wholesome note to end on.
It does, yeah.
Very uplifting ending.
Because it's given me more than I've given to it, really. And I do put a lot into it with the group and such, but I get back tenfold. It's just a lovely hobby. Got to meet you guys.
There you go.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that, Dean. So the Gentleman Geek, Gentleman_Geek, let's get it right. Dan will sort it out. Thanks, Dan. You'll sort that out for me. Thanks so much for being on the show. Really appreciate it. I'm now going to go back to your Instagram and just keep spooling through because you've told me how many cosplays you've got. I need to find them all now.
Yeah, we need to count now.
Yeah, not sure they're all on there.
And I had a list, and I'm like, there's ones I didn't mention. I'm just going to give a shout out before we leave Colombo, just because, yes.
Love a Colombo.
I've never seen anyone else do that, and yeah. Jumanji cosplay, absolute shout out for that. And then also, I didn't know that you did 7. Also, that's a cool one, which I feel like, have you only done that one time? Or
yeah, just the once, yeah.
This needs to come out again. I'm telling you, this is a quick fire round, but you need to do that again because that was amazing. And then you did a guy from Encanto.
Yeah, again, just one.
Who also, yeah, that was a great one. Yeah, we did Dr. Jones, Cobra Kai, because, yeah.
Yeah, how did I not mention Johnny?
Yeah, I was like, you do like 4 versions. So here we go. I'm just plugging this. Just, go to the Gentleman Geek for all these cosplays and more.
Brilliant.
Thank you so much. And anyone out there watching, listening, if you want to be involved, if you want to check out, you want to come have a chat with us. We just prefer the people. We chat about cosplay. Let us know, cosplayconfessional@nerdod.com, or find us on Instagram and all the usual places at nerdod. But thanks so much for watching and listening.
Thank you, and catch you guys next time.
Cosplay Confessional is part of the Nod Network and produced by Studio 30,000.